Hey folks, how you doing today? Good, I hope. So today, finally, it's time for the workshop tour. I've got a new gadget today, which, well, I've had it for a little while, but I'm using it today for the video, which is one of these 3-axis gimbal things, which is pretty cool. If anyone's interested in seeing that, let me know and leave us a comment in the comment section, and I'll give you a little show of that and what it can do. It's made by Xeon, I think. The price of them have come down quite a lot lately, so I thought I'd pick up one of those. So I shall try and there we go. So I shall try and make sure I'm talking to you at the camera, but if my eyes start going off all kind of crazy, it's because I've forgotten the camera's in that corner, not right in the middle. And yeah, so anyway, so let's get started. The workshop, or shared as it is, there we go, follow me, there we go. I built this, completed this around October last year. It took me from July until October. The main of the build was probably done by September. And then it was just waiting for the, I had an electrician in to put armoured core electrics down on its own supply feed, so you know, all super legit, and yeah, he did a great job. And that took a little bit of time because he was a busy guy and I had to wait for him to be available, so I didn't have any power in here. The workshop itself is a tanked concrete floor with 3 courses of brick, and then I built a timber structure up from there. There's some videos on how I did that on the channel in a playlist, so check them out. I'll link them up in the top bit there. I don't know where my mind is today, honestly. So let's get going in, and we'll do a bit of a tour. If anyone's got any questions or comments, leave them in there, and as I try to answer every question that I get. So, and I do appreciate the comments. It's good fun reading them and interacting with you guys and girls who watch my videos, and you know, a special hello to all my subscribers. I do appreciate one and all of you, and if you haven't subscribed, why not, and consider subscribing. So let's get on with the tour. Okay, so we'll just have a quick look at one end of the workshop. The workshop itself is about 5 meters long by just under 3 meters wide and a little over 2.5 meters tall. So I'll just walk to the other end. That's the other end. So, okay, so let's get going. So, first up we've got here is this small bench drill. I looked at a lot of bench drills. I was considering getting a freestanding monster of a bench drill, but in reality I didn't need that. I needed something that had a reasonable level of depth that I could drill a dead straight hole in, and my work must have been particularly good at some point, because they gave me some vouchers for something. I can't remember what that was, and that was for Argos, so everyone in the UK will know what Argos is. And they were selling this, I think it was about £60, and that was the vouchers that I had, so I thought, yep, why not? It's not had an awful lot of use. I mean, it pretty much looks like the day it came out of the packet, but then I do look after my tools. You know, certainly if I get them, well, regardless whether they're new or not, I look after them. But yeah, so I've used this on a few projects already. It's good. You've got well, it's got a screw in there at the moment, so, but this lifts up, and then you can change all of the speeds there. One thing I would say about this is this thing, whilst it's guards to stop swarf and things come flying at you, which is fairly good for, it's a bit annoying, to be honest, so I might well take that off. Next up is we got, oh, wrong way, hang on, there we go, I'm just getting to grips with this thing. My old bench grinder, I have had this for probably over 20 years. Does the job, yeah, it's fine, no problem at all. This is all standing on a bit of worktop, that new bit of worktop that I bought here. Now you're probably wondering, why is it sort of so high? It probably comes up to, I don't know, it's probably 4.5 foot high-ish perhaps. And the reason for that is that it would have been dead space for where the bikes are going to go, and I've still got to get my bike and my youngest son bike from my eldest son. That's my wife's mountain bike there. So I thought, okay, well, I'll just I'll put a work surface over the top of that, and these tools can either live on the top and then be used, or just store stuff on there. So yeah, that worked out fine. And underneath there, just battened round. Yep. So there we go. Good stuff. It works for me. Next up is my ye olde DeWalt bandsaw. I bought this second hand. It was on eBay. Picked it up about 2 years ago. Cost me £20. Works absolutely fine, and for the things that I've needed to use this for, been superb. It should have a little table here for the sanding wheel, and perhaps one of my projects this year will be to make a new sanding wheel for that. You can still get the blades for it. Model numbers DW100. I think essentially this saw, when you look at this sort of size bandsaw, there seems to be a lot of companies making essentially the same bandsaw, just under a different brand. I mean, DeWalt's quite a fair, you know, well, it's a really well-known brand, isn't it? But all their kit's yellow now, so that goes to show how old this thing is. Next up, we've got my old, how long have I had this? It's got to be 20 years at least, I'd imagine. My old tile cutter. In a previous life, for a while I was a floor layer. So I put all the ceramic flooring in my house, and everyone else who asks me, I'll do most things, fitting floors. I will not, however, do vinyl. Hate it. Well, no, I won't do it anymore. I used to do it back in the day, but not anymore. And then the workhorse of the moment, which pretty much cut nearly all of the timber cuts for this shed, is my McAllister sliding miter saw. You know, it rotates up, down, all over the place. Excellent saw. I can't remember how much it was back in the day. I've had this for about 10 years now, and absolutely brilliant bit of kit. Love that. Lethal, mind. It will, you know, you don't pay attention to what's going on with that. It will not care and take your limb straight off, no problem at all. And here we got, it's not attached because it's the old one. It's my old, I think it's a #1, record #1 vice. Yeah, record #1 vice. So I'll clean that up at some point. We've got all my clamps and things. These two here were the workhorses for building this workshop. In terms of tools, pretty much that. Those two blue Irwin. Oh. Right, so as I was saying, before the doorbell went off, I've got a second doorbell unit in the shed here, so if the door goes and there's no one in the house, I can know there's someone at the door. Yeah, so the chop saw, the Irwin clamps along with a speed clamp, set of trowels, spirit level, and the drill driver were probably the core tools I used to build this workshop. So it just goes to show the sort of things you can achieve with minimal tools. Down here we've got, I just built this sort of area here to retain the garden chairs and sun lounger things and that, and also that stops the bikes from getting getting those muddy off the wheels. So just down on the floor here, the floor actually, if you haven't seen the build videos, the floor I've coated in the epoxy resin paint, and that's pretty good stuff. It's hardware, and obviously stops the concrete from keep dusting over, and you can mop it, so if it gets oily or dirty or whatever, I can just give that a mop and keep it nice and tidy. Down here is just a bucket of old tools and things. There's a whole load of spanners and things I've got to clear up. This is the last of the sort of tools to go in the tool chest there. There's the area there for the bikes and things. Just down here is my old arc welder, welding gear and gloves and things like that. And then there's my trusty workmate thing, and there's a bit of off-cut, fire extinguisher. You never know what might happen. And I had one of those left over from something else, so that went on there. Totally unnecessary, I'm not even sure why I did that. When the guy did the electrics, what I ddid get him to do was I had a 3-way switch put in, because I've got two 5-foot twin. I'll get the hang of this gimbal thing in a minute, I do apologise. I've got two 5-foot twin T5 light units, but in case I wanted to put a light switch, a outside light on the outside of the workshop, there's a third switch there ready, connected up to a spur there, so it's ready with the junction blocks just in that, so I can drill straight through the wall into that and then connect up a light from outside. So moving round, I've got a whiteboard there. I was talking someone through the other day how OBD2 works. On there I've got my weights bench and squat rack. I must really get back into doing a bit of exercise. Turned into a bit of a lazy git. There's a bits of my golf trolley thing there. Not that I play an awful lot of golf, in fact I can't remember the last time I played golf, but there we go, I've got it nevertheless. There's my little compressor. It's only a small one. It's done me, but it does need a real rebuild. It's starting to screech somewhat, so that is definitely going to have some form of rebuild at some point, because he's not happy in life at the moment. My wife got me a floor mat there, and also she bought me that one there as well for the door, try and keep things nice and tidy. So working round, there's the tool, oh here we go, look, there's the tool chest. You've seen the, well you may not have done, but there is, I am all over the place with this gimbal, I do apologise, I'll perhaps get the hang of it one day. There's a tool chest there which I've done tool chest tour, toolbox tour on. Check the channel out for that. I've still got to fill in some of the gaps here on the sockets. I've got to get a 6 and a 7.5 inch mainly. I've got full 1/4 inches done. I've got to get a 20, a 6. Excuse me, I've got to get a 6 and a 20 in a 3/8 short, and a 6 and a 7 in a 3/8 deep, and then there's a load of 1/2 inch there I've got to pick up. So yeah, so I won't go through that anymore. And there's glove box holder and things. Down here there's a little project that I was building. It's a solar power thing for when we go camping, just to charge off, you know, if the car battery, Jeep battery dies or something. And I've just started building that, and I've got a solar controller on there with some battery leads, 12-volt accessory socket, and that kind of stuff. So that works okay. Puts out about 2 amp, I think, 2 amp, something like that. Does the job. My other tool chests, which are also in the tour. The box on the top here I use for carrying tools out to the driveway. This little compressor here you saw in my April tool haul. Picked up for a steal, I think it was £20 if I remember rightly. I mean, if nothing else, it's superb just to charge that thing up, take it out the front and then do the tyres and things with. That's really useful for that. But my plan for that is when I eventually pull my finger out and do my Jeep build, that will have a mount for onboard air, and use that hopefully with a 12 volt inverter to be able to just plug that in there and put that straight in. So here I've got golf bag with golf clubs. Once again, it's been years since I played golf. Got an old axe, and that was yeah, there we go. And I've on my rack that I built, well, my stepfather built, and we had put some mounts on there to put an axe and a shovel on. I've got a sledgehammer there, my high lift jack for off-roading and pulling out whatever. The tripod I normally use for shooting videos, video tripod. I've got a really nice Manfrotto tripod. Strangely, I mean, I'm actually filming this on my phone and this gimbal at the moment, so it's smooth and not jerky as I'm walking around. I've got a dedicated video camera for shooting the YouTube videos, but I've actually got two DSLRs. I've been a photographer for well over 20 years now. Shoot mainly people and portraits, so I've got a proper video tripod, but I use this one just in the workshop for shooting videos and things, because if it gets damaged I'm not going to be too upset. It was only a cheap one, so that's fine. This here is my work stand for, oh, sorry about that, the axe just fell over. This is my work stand for the mountain bikes. That extends up and it's got tripod feet on it, so that's really useful for working on mountain bikes and things, to service and repair those if need be. Electricians are watching this 4-way thing, and I've got a spare one there, as the electrician said, in case I want to put a jacuzzi in, which might be nice, but I wouldn't really say that the English weather is suitable for jacuzzi type stuff, to be honest. It cost me a fortune in just keeping it heated. Something that I do need to build is some kind of, I don't really want to just screw these straight to the wall. All these parts bins and things, and then down here I've got, that's the kit I've got for sorting out the oil change on the Jeep. I'll probably do that this weekend. So I've got all these here, nuts and bolts and stuff, and I never throw bolts away, I just chuck them in these drawers, nails and bits and bobs, oh, electrical stuff, and super glue by the looks of it, screws and sorts of bits and bobs. Anyway, yeah, so I've got to sort of decide what it is I'm going to do with this. I don't know whether to build a frame with a panel on it and screw them to that or what, I'm not too sure, to be honest. But that's another project I've got to get done. It's probably one of the last things I've got to do for the build in this shed, really. 50-inch TV, because why not? My son was buying a new telly, my eldest son, and he said, did I want it for the shed? Yeah, lovely, thank you very much. So there we go, and I've got a little wireless sound bar, and there's a subwoofer for it on top of the cupboards. Sounds pretty cool. It's good for the sounds when you're in here. I did have my youngest son bought me this a few years ago for music on the go, and you put your phone on the top of there, and that is really good. And New Laxi sent me that thing, Bluetooth receiver, which is pretty cool, and that means then you can still use your phone without it having to sit on the top of there. So when we go out on days and things, you want a bit of music, we just use that. Let's just stick that tripod back. Got a little heater in here for the winter, and that did fine actually. The walls of the workshop are insulated on the outer, so there's 2-inch 2-inch insulation with a metal foil face on it to reflect radiant heat out. And in the winter I only needed that little heater for this space, and it's pretty good. I painted the walls white because it at night bounces the light of these two units around here brilliantly, and so it's really good for videoing. I'm not really sure you get that on this because this camera's, the phone camera's permanently sort of adjusting the brightness, but it is super bright in here, and that was one of the things that I hated with my old shed. It was just it was so dark in there. I wanted something that was sort of nice and light, so that's what we got. Got a couple of these. Well, I've probably got 3 or 4 old MO tins. I'm thinking about using this for the Jeep. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll see I'll put a post up about that. What I might do is use that for stuff in the boot of the Jeep rather than buying something like a Plano case. Not sure yet. Not sure on that one. Got this metal cabinet. This I got from, you might have seen the video on that, from Rob's Wrenches. He very kindly sent me that. On top of the cabinet I've got Xbox 360, car cleaning stuff. I've got a tripod which my brother's, I said he can have that, and I keep forgetting to give it to him and he keeps forgetting to take it. I've got an old Tilly lamp there, which LED's great and everything else, but you can't beat a Tilly lamp for a bit of warmth and the amount of light it chucks out. I've got a halogen lamp as well. I think my wife bought me that years ago when I had first got the ZJ, so that's got to be, I don't know, 9 years ago I reckon. My neighbour Dawn and Dan, just at the back of me, they bought me that when I was building the workshop. That's very kind of them. That was the first thing for the workshop actually. So in the metal cabinet, all kinds of goodies. Let's move that box out of the way. So there's car cleaning stuff, and there's polishing things. There's a light there. I've got roller masking paper for painting. There's a bucket. There's painting consumables in here, so mixing cups and filters and stirrers and things like that. There's an old work light for the Jeep. I'm going to go LED on this one. My wellies. It's a set of stainless steel braided lines for the MR2. There's a box full of video mounts for videos. Jigsaw, bonsai tree stuff. I used to cultivate and grow an awful lot of bonsai trees, and that came to an abrupt halt several years ago when the whole lot was stolen out of the garden. Kind of lost the enthusiasm for it after that. Whole kit of auto glim stuff, car cleaning cloths, the Stanley drill driver, which I did a bit of a sort of look-see review video on. If you want me to go through these cases in another video, just leave me a comment, let me know, and I'll do that. It's just I was conscious that this video may go on for a little bit anyway. That's a grinder, that's a nail gun, and documentation for all the bits and bobs. So here, this is car spare bits and bobs in here. This is projects. So this box is just full of projects that I've got to do. There's things in there for the MR2 and other bits and bobs to build and things like that. My circular saw, which was another integral thing for building the shed. Some fluid things there and bits and bobs, and then chemical, oils and lubricants and things. There's the stuff here which I take out. This thing here for my chainsaws, 2-stroke oil and bits and bobs. There's my pressure washer, and there's a recovery chain there and a insect light thing. So that's pretty much that covered. So here I've just got a couple of magnetic trays with bits and bobs and everything else, and then on here on the back of the tool wall we've got these tools here. There's the remote control there for the sound bar, and just bits and bobs on these magnetic rails. Yeah, and there's the bits and bobs. I've got the bars here for the Jeep. The workbench that I've got was handmade. The frame, and when I redid built this shed, I recovered that with a new ply top and varnished that with polyurethane varnish. The frame needs a bit of a repaint really, so I've got to do that. And then under here I've got some ammo boxes and things at the back there. I'm not sure if you can quite see them, possibly not. There's the first chainsaw I had, which is a McCulloch P310. Got the spares from America for that, got them shipped over and rebuilt that one. And that was sort of like my first go at two-stroke engines and learning how they work. And then I was at an auction once, and then there was this McCulloch Titan 70, which is an 80s saw but super powerful. It's got a 20-inch bar on it, but the engine had seized and stripped the side of the piston, and the chamber is just absolutely mullered. And there was a company in the UK called Simmons Saws who had the last remaining stock in the UK for McCulloch and these sort of saws before they sort of changed to Chinesey rubbish really. Managed to get a new cylinder, piston kit and everything from them and rebuilt that, and that saw is super good, really good. There's my generator there, which I've got to buy a new pull start for. It does the job, and a tree saw and a crowbar, gorilla bar thing there, and axle stands and that kind of stuff. My record number 3. Yeah, record number 3 vise. I was going to rebuild, I was going to rebuild it, but I was going to paint it, strip and paint it, but then I needed it for something I was doing. I can't remember what it was. So just bolted it quickly to the bench to be able to do that. And but I still do plan on taking that fully apart, stripping it back, and I'm probably going to paint that red. I don't know. It's not one of the really old record vices, because if you've got a really old one, this section here is round. So yeah, that's got to be rebuilt. And then lastly, I've got the cupboard doors here, the cupboards, wall units, which I might over time extend across the top there. On the top there I've got a box of gloves and the subwoofer and some blue rolls and things. These handles I made myself out of some angle aluminium, and they're just fixed on the bottom there with some screws. They do the job fine. And then because I couldn't find any red doors anywhere, so ended up buying white doors and then just vinyl wrapped them. Load of auto glim, spare auto glim cleaning stuff. That there could be an excellent compressor, but it essentially is not man enough to be able to pump up anything really. And what you find is anything over or about 25 psi, the pump actually fights the pressure of the tyre to put it in. So I'm going to take that apart and see if there's some sort of issue internally with the piston, and see if it's seizing up. This here is a project which I still need to complete for the MR2. So where you have the drink tray and a cigarette ashtray and lighter, I've stripped all that out at the back there, and I'm putting in this switch panel, USB sockets there, and switches for whatever I shall use in there. But I don't smoke and I don't drink in my cars, so I thought that might be a bit more interesting to do. There's the bars there for the Jeep. I think I probably just said that. What else we got in this one? Yeah, so that's this is what I'm using to record this, and the sort of front to back tilt I've not really got the hang of, but it'll be interesting to see how smooth this video comes off instead of it being all sort of jerky as it can sometimes be. But if I sort of twist this around madly, I mean the mode here, if I change this mode, there we go. So if I'm swinging this thing around everywhere, and you can probably see it, but it's very stable. It's an excellent product, it really is. I would definitely recommend it. It costs about £85, I think. It's my Hoover, excellent Hoover that is. The inverter that I'm going to put into the Jeep. What's behind that? Soldering iron. Along the top here is all of my PPE. Gentlemen and ladies watching this, you may have hundreds or thousands of pounds of tools in your tool chests. It surprises me how people take risks with their health. You've only got one pair of lungs, one pair of eyes, and blah blah blah, look after them. Chainsaw sharpener, chain sharpener, that is a pretty handy bit of kit. I hate sharpening chainsaw blades with a file. There is nothing worse. This is my camera that I normally record my videos on. Excellent little camera that was. I bought it, was virtually unused, but I bought it second hand. I think it was about 50 quid, £50, something like that. And this is the bag all the kit goes in. I've recently upgraded, and this is something I'm going to be using for future videos. This Tascam professional sound recorder. So we'll see how we get on with that. And that's my GoPro, which I use for time lapse and things. So that is pretty much the workshop as it is at the moment. There's a few things still to do. That cable there, that is the hard line for the fibre optic internet to come in. I've still got to get that sorted out. I've got a blind to go up on that window, you know, to screen off. Not that you really need it, because I've actually got privacy glass on there. But my wife bought me that and the blind that's up there, so I need to trim along these edges here, because I just don't like that. It's not particularly neat, so I need to do that. One thing I will say is, if you're going to paint OSB board, I actually bought, you're supposed to paint it first of all with a protective base coat to stop the glue of the OSB coming through, which I did, and then put a top coat on, and you can see there it's still come through. So if you're thinking about using OSB and then painting it, bear in mind you need to use a really good barrier paint to stop the glue coming through and wrecking your white or whatever colour you're going to put through, because the colour bleeds right through there. Okay, thanks for watching. That's the workshop tour as it is now, really. I hope you enjoyed that. If you've got any questions about anything in here or anything you'd like to see more of, let me know in the comments section, and I'll do my best to try and cover that. I have got a lot of videos planned. If it stops raining consistently, hopefully I'll get some of those done, especially on the MR2. There's no fun trying to record videos in the MR2 with a vinyl roof and it's raining. It sounds like you're inside a snare drum. So yeah, so as I say, thanks for watching, and as I usually say, I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.